Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching another one of my interviews with me, William Wallace, my show, William Wallace for America. As you know, we are at CPAC, and I've been looking for people that are doing things to protect freedom and liberty in our country, and it's done in a lot of different ways. And with me today are Jamie and Vicky, and they are with your show.
We are the Patriot Chicks,
Okay.
and we are boots on the ground journalists, and we just published our first documentary, The Untold Truth, about human trafficking in connection with the Super Bowl.
So,
Yeah, no, go on.
no. So how did y'all expose that? Well, you might be able to tell your secrets, but now that it's exposed, what can you share?
We can share that each episode is under 20 minutes. Viewers can go check it out, and we have law enforcement talking about what they've experienced, what's going on with possibly defunding the police and how this impacts human trafficking. We have whistleblowers who have exposed how taxpayer money is funding human trafficking, or how certain charities or NGOs are out there accepting donations and then using it to traffic people. So we're working to make everyone aware about what the situation is, what it looks like, how they can become aware of how to protect people in their own neighborhood by being aware of what the signs are, who to reach out to, how to get engaged.
Yeah, we're going to talk more about your show in a minute, but do you talk about this on your show too, besides the documentary?
Yes, so the main part of the documentary is, like Jamie said, is making people aware of. And we had the chance to go with Vets for Child Rescue. It's a veterans-founded organization who are working with law enforcement, getting those children out of the cross from the pedophiles, or even arresting pedophiles. And I had the chance to be on a sting operation with Child for Rescue at the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl in...
You guys get to go beyond that?
Yeah, I was there, and I was active in the process to that the pedophiles criminalize themselves and trying to get a sexual contact with a minor.
And you were involved in this sting operation. That's amazing. That's tough.
Yes.
That shows, well, not only does it show your passion to fix problems, it shows your passion to help children, it shows your passion for freedom, but it shows you're not just doing this for yourself, you're doing this for others. That's very admirable. I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, we both doing this because it's, like you said, it's also our passion.
It's teamwork.
And it's very important for us to shine a light into this darkness on this topic, because the problem is, like you know, media is a business, and the mainstream media also, a lot of alternative media in our movement are not really sharing or reporting about human trafficking, what's really going on there, because when you see the media as a company, they want to make profit, and this topic is a disgusting, ugly, hurting problem, what makes people more feel uncomfortable with. But you have to, or we as media have to shine a light on it, because this is our job, to be a truth seeker, to show the even the ugly truth, that people know what they're looking for, because when people are not aware of, they can't see it.
Exactly.
And when they can't see it, they can't say something, and we can't solve the problem.
And that's part of the problem, is that the truth is very uncomfortable, and people don't like feeling uncomfortable.
Exactly.
So if people just take a little bit of
Right.
time, carve it out, understand you're going to feel a little...
You spoon feed it a little bit.
Exactly. And that's why we also made sure that all of these episodes are under 20 minutes. It doesn't take that much time. You
Right.
don't need to watch the whole series in a
Because
day.
the mainstream media is not covering this.
And they're also not covering it accurately. There's also labor trafficking going on. There's the sex trafficking that we touched on. Human trafficking is just the rebranded term of slavery. It's modern day slavery.
Exactly. That's a great point, because a lot of times when slavery comes up, people talk about it, but there are more people in slavery today than there ever has been in the history of America, or the history of America when they talk about slavery in America. So.
And when you even see it, so human trafficking is the second biggest money-making part of the criminal people, and they make over 5 point.
We spoke to someone this weekend who said about 300 million a day is being wired, just wired.
Well, I've heard that sex trafficking and human trafficking has exceeded drug trafficking at our southern border.
Yes.
I mean, everybody talks about fentanyl being a bad thing, but nobody's talking about the poor souls that are coming across the border
Yeah.
you know, and being trafficked. But back to my point a minute ago, you know, everybody complains about slavery in America. There's more people being and I want to emphasize this again for a reason. There's more people in slavery today than there ever was in the history of America.
And the thing is, it's not only so every third person of human trafficking is American. It's not all the people coming from the border. Even American children or American people, runaway teenagers are mostly trafficked. Every seventh child who is a runaway ended up actually in human trafficking. And when you put one predator into the cell behind bars, you save 70 children.
Wait, one predator equals 70 children?
Yes.
That is the average.
This is an amazing statistic. Now, Jamie, you brought up a point a minute ago that I don't want to forget, which is you talked about defunding the police.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent point to bring up, and I love how you linked that child theft or child trafficking and finding the predators is also affected by defunding the police. Do you have more information on that?
It is. It's that when you have these detectives or these human trafficking units in your local police departments being defunded, they're not taking, you know, your regular patrol guys off the street. They start with the back offices. Back offices. So, for example, if some department somewhere were to have an internet unit where they get into a chat room, let's say, that's going to be what's disbanded first when you talk about defunding the police. So we need to make sure that we actually have people in place that are working to refund the police, because these are the types of things that we are now losing out on when you have all these crazy politicians saying, defund them, defund them, defund them. That's not how it's got to be.
So when they're saying defund the police, they're thinking they're going to defund violence on citizens by police, when the reality is when you defund police, they go back into the back office. I love how you said that. And they try to figure out, okay, what is not as visible that we can defund?
So I have one question for you. Do you think that America has a federal unit for human trafficking?
I would assume so.
No. There's no federal unit of any agency who is working on a federal base for human trafficking.
So our federal government, the alphabet agencies, have a budget to spy on Americans and to be able to go after Americans for all these certain things, but not to go after child predators.
Yes.
We have the budget for 83,000 new IRS agents, but
no budget for human.
But, you know, but they're not coming after the most important part of society. You know, it's interesting because I'm going to connect something here. A lot of people have been talking about education and school board reforms and talking about how they're coming after our children through the school boards and through the schools and through the educational system, CRT, that kind of thing. But that's an attack on our children. But this is another attack on our children. Ignoring it and not enforcing it is letting it happen more. Is that an accurate statement,
yes.
Vicki?
And all those grooming, what we are doing now in the schools, is making the children's is a victimizing process for the children, because they make it normal to sexualize children. Like when you go on Netflix and see all those dancing shows and the children dance like
toddlers.
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, I've seen those. See, those are horrible, right?
Yeah, this is sexualizing from children. So they give the predators what they want, even on free TV right now, and they make the children like, okay, that's totally normal moving like that. No, it's not normal for a 10-year-old.
10-year-old to do that.
Yeah.
So they're normalizing the sexuality of children.
Yeah.
Then, of course, if they run away or they're not getting educated or they're getting groomed or they're getting told that it's okay to cross-dress or whatever the case may be, they're accepting another alternate reality. Is that a good way to put it? And then, of course, later in life, if they're teenagers, they run away, or if they get stolen or abducted, it's easier for them to become victims. Am I kind of laying out a process?
And then sometimes there's even cases where these people are being encouraged to utilize certain drugs, and if you don't go out and perform certain acts, then you don't get your next dose.
Yep.
So there's a whole bunch of different aspects that go into this, and the more it's being normalized in a classroom by an adult that you're supposed to be able to trust, the more normal it looks when someone's actually taking advantage of you and, in my opinion, killing your soul.
And then when it gets to a higher level where the media is not covering what's coming across our border or what's going on in our country,
it
gets what's that?
At churches.
Or the churches aren't covering it either?
No, there was just a case in Tampa where a youth pastor got arrested for having a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old boy, and he was texting with him and sending him pictures. And when he didn't send him pictures, he's gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna do something to you. I will tell this your parents that we had that." So this is really at your house door. It's not so far away, and this is what the American parents has to understand. This can happen even in your neighborhood, and you have to be prepared. You have to not be too forcing on your children and say, "Oh, you're not allowed to have a mobile phone anymore."
Right.
No, I don't say that, because then they're gonna pressure it and gonna do it, because we all know how teenagers are. But you have to make sure that that those children have an intelligent and very accurate understanding how this works. And when a person texts you and your child, I have a daughter, and she tells me, "Oh, I haven't found a new friend on the chat on this computer game." And I say, "Okay, tell me a little about it." And then she tells me about it and say, "Oh, he wants to know who old I am." No, you don't tell them how old
Right.
you are. Okay, he wants to know where I live. No, you don't need to know that. It's on the game. So
Right.
don't give too much information, and have a little bit interest what your child is doing on the internet and on the phone. Don't be over her shoulder and look in their messages.
Exactly.
But be a little bit interested in what they're doing, and then they will tell you that.
You know what I'm hearing from you guys right now is that sometimes it's not being active is not meaning that you have to go do the searching or that you've got to be out there actively involved in the process. But sometimes being aware
Yes.
is as important as being actively going after the predators. Is that right?
It is. And the way that Vicky just described her approach, that's showing your kids that you care. These
Right.
other people don't care. And the more that you're showing them that, one, you trust their judgment and ability to make decisions,
Right.
because hopefully as a parent you trust that you
Exactly.
raised your child
Right,
in a way that you're proud of.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, and you're showing them, "Hey, I trust you to be on this game. I trust you to be in this chat, but I know you know better. Tell me more about your friend."
Exactly.
You're also showing them how to communicate. And that's a big part of the problem, is that people don't know how to communicate their issues. And when these issues happen, it's got to be addressed. It's got to be, an uncomfortable truth.
Right.
It's not always comfortable to be like, "Hey, I know you're my daughter, and someone out there is looking to do something nefarious to you," but that's the true reality of the world. And we need to arm these children and the parents to know exactly what to look for, how to protect
Exactly right.
yourselves, and that's how you can be successful in the world.
I love the communication because you made me think of something, and I want to give you credit for that. Everybody talks about the First Amendment,
Yep.
and where our rights are being taken away by not being able to speak out, but our First Amendment's not being taken away in the home. The problem is in the homes we're not exercising it. Families aren't exercising it as much as they should. And you made a great point of that, Jamie. Thank you. That if parents were to communicate with their children a little bit more on things, and you same with you, now you're able to make them more aware. And just that line of communication opens up an understanding and empowers your children, on a bigger level. So people can see. I have a couple more questions. I'm not wrapping up. People can see that all these videos on your website, correct?
That is correct. They can
Okay.
go to thepatriotchicks.com,
Okay.
and you click on the Untold Truth tab. Again, each episode is under 20 minutes, so it's not a long time. Just check in and, we have 7 parts coming out. There's
Exactly.
3 out already. And thepatriotchicks.com.
So what else
The
do y'all
Untold
talk
Truth.
about on your show?
Well, right now, we started our business back in November on Election Day.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just started that. This is the first thing we've put out. So we've been out here hustling on making sure that people are actually getting the message, getting
Nice.
to see it, spreading the word about it. And we've been really blessed because we've had the opportunity to link up with a lot of different groups or individuals, people covering the same topic, but it's coming from different angles.
All of us working together help solve problems.
Exactly, building a network, it's not a competition.
Right. Oh, I love how you say that. That's perfect.
And what I also wanted to say, because maybe your audience is, now thinks, okay, how can I be active and help? So when you want to be active, help organizations who are really doing something. And I can recommend Vets for Child Rescue. And they also put a documentary out. It's Contraland. And just go on their website. It's vetsforchildrescue.com.
Okay.
And find out, there are tips how you can help your children, how that works with the human trafficking, and just be aware, go through the world with open eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Take the wool off.
I love how you guys are opening people's eyes. I love that. I love seeing the passion in your hearts. I love seeing the knowledge that you have in your brains. And I love the fact that you're using that as a tool to not only save children, but to put freedom back into our country. So, and that's one thing I'm going to ask you here in a second. I believe that freedom in America is being attacked.
Yeah.
I believe that, a lot of people, and I repeat this frequently, that people think of the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, religious freedom, but you guys are exposing in a way that our future of our children, the future of women, a lot of different freedoms that come along, a lot of freedoms that fall prey to sex trafficking are at risk, and you guys are restoring freedom and liberty back to people. Is that a way to put that?
I
What would you say?
appreciate hearing that, and I do agree that in a way that is what we're aiming to do here, because the family is the cornerstone, in my opinion, in this country. So if we don't have a strong family, it's much easier to get railroaded by, say, an administration that may or may not belong where they're sitting.
Right, exactly.
So when you have a strong family and you have strong communication, it usually tends to make the people stronger. And when you have a stronger people, it makes it harder for your freedom to be taken away by an overstepping government.
So the results of what you all are doing is, again, reinforcing families. What were you going to say, Vicki?
And what also is important, don't erase history. Because history is not there that you like it, it's there that you learn from it. And when you just see into the countries who lost their right to bear arms, they ended up in tyranny. So
Exactly.
I'm from Germany. My country is the best example. We had a very crazy Austrian some decades ago.
He was like a crazy Austrian, and he took away guns.
Yeah, they took away the guns.
One of the first things he did.
It was the first thing what he did. And then we had the problem now that we have the World Economic Forum coming to Germany and having the power now. Not officially, but...
Wait, who's coming to Germany now?
The World Economic Forum.
Oh, who, right? Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Right, exactly.
Yeah, and our politicians are only puppets, but we don't have a chance to defend ourselves because we don't allow to have guns. So we are actually the victims of our government to get punished and have police violence there. And what you see is they took our patriotism away after the Second World War because we did horrible things. I don't want to say that didn't happen, but when you take the patriotism, the love of your country away from the people, what are you fighting for?
Exactly.
If you don't fight for your country, how can you teach your children to be proud of your country, to be proud to be American, to be proud to be German? Because when you have this pride and say, I want to fight for my constitution, I want to fight for
exactly.
this incredible American dream. This is worth fighting for, and this is what the people and the lefties and your president there.
This is your.
It's not mine.
Hey, you live here too now.
Yeah.
But
So-
Vicki, I want to interrupt you for 1 second. You brought up something excellent. I mean, I got to compliment you. I mean, both of you bring up excellent points there. I really appreciate it. But you brought up a point about what's happened in Germany today because they're not allowed to have guns. Sure, a dictator came in, got rid of the guns, did some bad things. However, you pointed out that today, Germany, all these years later, is still suffering by the actions of what a dictator did by removing guns.
Yes.
And had the Germans of that day fought for their own freedom, rose up against a dictator, stopped him, not let their guns be taken away, or however that was going on during that time, we'll say, make a long story short, that today Germans are not only suffering of a loss of their freedoms of not just gun rights, but their economy, their politics, and because the people lost their patriotism. When you take away your rights and freedoms, you lose your patriotism.
Yep.
So now they're more willing to submit to the WHO or to elected officials. That's going to take away their freedoms even more.
Yes. And what is also very important as a German from and living in Europe without borders, if you don't have borders, you don't have a country. So get your officials who are in office and who are promising when they get into the office that they're going to fight for border security, make them accountable that they actually do that. Because you don't have a country if you don't have borders.
And you know for a fact, Jamie, what about you? Anything you want to contribute at this point? I mean, you got all this
do.
good knowledge. I see it get ready to come out.
Well, I appreciate what Vicki just said about holding our electeds accountable, because there are other situations that we've become familiarized with a little bit, and
Exactly.
the more that we're pressuring these people, and the more that the people are we the people, the more we the people come
Right,
together
exactly.
to make the electeds that work for us serve us the way they're supposed to be, the
Absolutely.
public servants. That's how we make these changes. That's how we protect our border. That is how we protect our children. That's how we protect our families, our morals, our values, and ourselves. And that's what we need to do. We need to put nonstop pressure on these people.
You're amazing. I'm going to bring up something here in a minute, an election that you had, because you're making a great point, the lead in on this, that when we don't pay attention to our elections, we don't stay on top of what elected officials are doing, we get laws, we get regulations, we get policies that can affect future elections and the future of our country. Would you mind telling your election story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I ran for office in 2020, State Assembly in New York. On election night, I won, and then I was not able to participate in having my mail-in ballots be opened the way the law describes it should be able to happen. So a month later, I was no longer number one after all the mail-ins were counted. So that's oddly suspicious to me, and to me there was no point in running a second time. I do plan to run maybe at some point in the future.
Exactly.
But running again and asking all these people to contribute, make donations when we don't even know if there's true election integrity.
Exactly.
Why would we do that? We need to still get 2020 straightened out. And it's not, oh, let's go overturn an election. That's not what we're saying here. We're saying,
Right.
What's with the mail-ins? What's with the computers? It shouldn't be that hard. I remember as a kid, my mom used to go in, pull the lever, ballots were counted that night. Florida just proved that they can do that with the last governor's race.
Exactly.
They did it overnight. So can someone explain to me why we can't do it that way anymore?
Right.
I think that we're smart enough to know how to count by hand.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be that problematic.
Now, there's a lot of people who say that could be problematic also. However, we know that the way the machines are working right now, in your case, the mail-in ballots came in and took out your election. I'm sorry to hear that, because you were so great at that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So if I can't be the voice of the people by choice in an office,
Right.
I'm going to take the microphone and bring it to them.
Well, you're doing exactly what I'm doing. I ran for office 4 years ago, didn't win. And but I don't think there was anything nefarious about my election, in all honesty. But I used that opportunity to create my platform,
There you go.
on a bigger level. You guys are amazing.
Thank you.
You really
So
are.
we do.
Patriot Chicks, please check them out. Any final words before we leave off?
Please just check out the website, thepatriotchicks.com. We also have links up there for Vets for Child Rescue, so people can go over there and get the knowledge that they need.
I love it. To stay involved and be aware of what's happening.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you
God
all very
bless
much.
you.
I appreciate you all so much. Y'all
Thank
are
you.
awesome. And everybody else, if you want to see some more of the awesome information that they have, or see the more of how hard these two chicks are working, Patriot Chicks especially, how hard they're working, I think that not only you see the value in their information, but it will inspire you and motivate you to do what you can do to help protect freedom in our country. Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.